Mr. Chairman. Mr. O'Toole, one of the major themes of our legislation is promoting positive cultural changes within the Forest Service and the BLM. It requires employees to become more familiar with the streamlining tools that Congress has given them to reduce wildfire hazards. It also incentivizes employees to remain in the communities longer. Can you talk about how these provisions would actually help improve agency culture and foster better relationships between the agency and then the state and local and then the private sector partners?
Yes, sir. You know, as a permittee in 2 states with 4 agencies, this is something we're very familiar with. I'm going to lose a 20-year employee at the Forest Service in the Medicine Bow Forest this year. He's retiring. We have no idea what the implications of the next person is. And so what happens is the new people come in, and those of us that have been there for a long time become very ignorant for a while till we reestablish our credibility. And in the long-term relationships that we've had, best BLM guy in the country for 40 years, left and retired, total change, total fundamental change. And now we have in another forest a succession of employees that come for a year, 2 years, regional foresters change, or local foresters, and there is no incentive, it seems like, to stay and be with the community. And the Organic Act of the Forest, for example, is really about communities. And we're seeing a vast change in sort of this move up the chain to the way that you do better in the agencies is by moving. That can't be the incentive.
Thank you. Mr. Crockett, last month NBC News published an article with the following headline. You may have seen it. The Forest Service, it says, is overstating its wildfire prevention progress to Congress, overstating the progress to Congress despite decades of warnings not to do so. The article details how the Forest Service has for decades used misleading data. This news story from NBC says, the Forest Service has counted many of the same pieces of land toward its risk reduction goals for anywhere from 2 to 6 times, and in a few cases, dozens of times. I think anybody that's read this is very troubled by this report. So would you agree with me that transparency is vital when it comes to combating the wildfire crisis?
Yes, I definitely would agree with you that transparency is very important, and that's our goal, to be transparent in everything that we do. When we do a forest treatment, many times it requires multiple entries in order to be successful with it, generally about 3 entries. And so we want to be accountable to Congress for every dollar we spend on those entries. And so the first, second, and third entry have reporting requirements to go along with it. So part of our responsibility is to be transparent, to say when an acre is treated in multiple times to be able to meet that benefit.
So to ensure transparency and eliminate confusion, our bill limits reporting accomplishments to projects that meaningfully actually reduce wildfire risks. So I ask unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman, to enter into the record this NBC News article, the Forest Service is overstating its prevention progress.
Without objection, if I may take the privilege of also asking for permission to enter into the record a letter to Deb Haaland, Secretary of Interior, Tom Vilsack, Secretary of Agriculture, concerning the wildland firefighter personnel request we just spoke about. Thank you.
Mr. O'Toole, so most of our federal forested lands are already off limits to active forest management projects. These include lands designated as wilderness, as wild and scenic river corridors, as roadless areas. The Biden administration's executive order on old growth and mature forests has the potential to restrict responsible management on many more additional acres. So at a time with 63 million acres of our national forests at a risk of being destroyed by catastrophic wildfires, they're finding that ways to further restrict forest management projects. Is this a wise use of time and resources?
Senator, that's an excellent observation. And, you know, perhaps you all remember Carole King, the singer, years ago, testified, and it was actually on CNN and Time Magazine. It was a huge story for a few days that we should never touch one more acre, one more tree. This is the reality. You know, picture tells a thousand words. The reality is this use of the old growth term to restrict use on the forest is an agenda, not a solution. And so I think it's very clear that we you know, base our forest management on the need rather than these, you know, sort of manufactured discussions about how reality works. This is reality.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. And now we'll go to Senator Heinrich.
Thank you, Chairman.